Hey, it's Maddie from Turbot. I am here with Nathan, and we are going to dig into the new MCP server for Tailpipe. Nathan, I'm really excited to learn how this MCP server can tell us all sorts of cool stuff about our tailpipe data.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's just amazing once you can actually start chatting to your logs, talking to your Amazon bill. Like, it's a whole new world. I mean, you don't have to think about the SQL queries anymore. You can literally just have a conversation with the data. So it's exciting. Let's get into it. It's all on GitHub, easy to download and use. The configuration is super simple. You just got to go to Claude Desktop and shove in your MCP server config, or if you've got a specific database you want to use, you can do that. But generally, you just shove this in and away you go. Same with Cursor. So totally easy to get started. So let's have a look what it actually looks like once it's up and running. So I'm going to ask it some questions. So using Tailpipe, give me my costs per day for AWS.
Did not pull any punches. Started right off the bat there with that one. All right.
Let's see. Yep. So it's going off and it's querying Tailpipe to find out what plugins it has, what tables it has available, so it can work out what to query to get this data. So it's now found the cost and usage data table. So it's going to get information about the columns in that. And then it should query the information out of that we need.
So I noticed as it's going along, it's right now a good example. It's saying you want to allow this, and you're allowing each time, so you know exactly what it's doing, rather than just sort of giving it, hey, just go crazy, do whatever you want.
Claude doesn't really give you a choice. You have to do it at the start of each session for Claude. So basically, it's for each type of thing. So these were each different questions that asked on the way through. It won't ask me again for this session for those. But now it's running Tailpipe query, and I've approved that it'll run a number of queries as it needs to work out the information at once.
And it's really explaining as it goes everything it's doing. It's saying, okay, now I need to do this query. Here's what that query is. We're going to adjust it. It's just given that narration.
And I think it's important to note that the first thing I did was just start with a very broad question. So I just said, give me my cost by day. And it's started trying to work that out, and by exploring it in different ways. Not sure. It's interesting on the dates, because I think my data is from March. So I'm wondering if the 30-day thing could be an issue. But you can see here it's doing it since the start of March. So that seems okay. So we'll see what comes out in a second. But if you ask a more specific question, you'll get a much quicker, more specific answer. So as we can see here, it's decided just to break it down. I didn't say what format I wanted. I didn't say I wanted. If I could have asked it for a graph, I could ask for all sorts of different things, but it just decided to break it up in different ways. You can see some interesting things like our DNS or domain name renewals coming through and stuff like that, right? And you can see some breakdown of the different way the costs, etc., work. But it's really able to just answer any question and start analyzing it that way. So, what are my RDS instance sizes and how are they working for cost? I mean, without this, I would have no idea how to query this stuff. I mean, I could go to the Tailpipe Hub. We have tons of good queries and examples out there, but it's just able to start asking any question at once on the way through to analyze and think about things. I don't know the answer to this question exactly. It was just, let's using the LLM to start exploring the information. And it's decided to start thinking about the instance types. And now it's decided to look at the regions, and again, open questions give you new, interesting results when you use it with this. It's breaking up the storage as well. I mean, how many queries does it run at this point? If I was trying to write one of these, I would have been off there tapping on my keyboard and trying to resolve it all for quite a while.
I might have gotten through typing the word select at this point.
So you can see our different instances in different regions for different test environments and stuff we have, right? Just driving some of the different way our costs are working, and then it's starting to tell me about our cost opportunities or ways we can work with it differently. So
Which I was going to say, I think that's really interesting because we didn't ask for that. You
no,
know, it's being helpful. It says, okay.
well, yeah, Claude 3.7 is pretty famous for deciding to go further than the question is asked compared to Claude 3.5. But of course, you know, you could use this with any, you know, MCP compatible server. It works in Cursor and other things as well, which gives you access to different languages. Let's try something else. What are my top write events for in CloudTrail? So now it should do some analysis of that CloudTrail log. It's worked out to set the read-only field to false to be able to find the write events. Interestingly, you know, it's quite common in our environment. I think 4% of the events are write events, 96% are read. So it's fairly specific. But yeah, this is not surprising. Create log stream. We create a ton of logging. I mean, that's 338,000 log streams have been created in that period. We're doing things using ECS to run a whole bunch of tasks. You know, so you're starting to get some analysis or sense of what activity is going on in your environment in order to give you some other summaries, like etc. of how that's working. Do we have any throttling errors from calling this APIs? So you can see here, it sort of just made stuff up to try and look for throttling errors because it doesn't know what they might look like. And now it's starting to break down more information about what's going on to create those throttling errors.
Yes, you do have throttling errors, Nathan.
Yes, we do. Yes, we like to add tags to our SNS topics, and we have a lot of them. So sometimes we get throttling, but you'll see they happen in batches, right? And it's done an analysis of the batches, where they came from, what led to the throttling errors and all that sort of stuff. And then it can start to give you other information about the rate limits and stuff that happen in AWS, or the, you know, how to manage information about that. You know, can you give me an analysis or timeline of the throttling errors on, let's say, so I'm asking it now to dive in deeper to that specific set of errors and see what happened.
These are all the kinds of questions that we would be asking when we're troubleshooting, when we're looking at things. So that's really intuitive, I think.
Yeah, well, what I love is now it's like, well, let's look for successful ones around the same time. Like, it's just going, it's like, I've asked it for a timeline and other things. So it's trying to understand the exact second-by-second call pattern that led to the throttling, see what's going on. It's really diving into the moment to see what happened at that time. So it's broken down the whole sequence where we were obviously pulling information about the SNS topics. Then we got a bunch of successful ones. We started getting some throttling at this point. Throttling peaked out, you know, recovered, returned to normal. I mean, we just got an entire timeline analysis of a throttling event, which is really hard to work out from your logs, right, on your own. But this has just done all of that for us. Now, I use throttling because it's an easy one for us to look at here and without sharing too much info. But you can ask a question like, you know, hey, when were IAM access keys created? Like, tell me that sequence of events that happened when that thing happened. I mean, when you're talking about a SOC analyst or others who are trying to move through the process of dealing with their data or looking at incidents or understanding anomalies and stuff like that, this is just incredible for that. You can ask it questions about which days did my cost spike, what led to the cost spike on that day, and what should I be looking at? How has my spend changed this week compared to the week before? And it will work all those things out for you. So, again, the key thing, I want to make sure that I'm leaving people with as they, have a chance maybe to try this is the sense of, explore, be adventurous, ask big questions. It will easily produce for you an entire graph and report as well. If you just ask it to visualize the data, it will do that, right? So, if you ask it to build a bigger report, it'll do that. Ask it for in a table, it'll do that. Like, you can ask the LLM for anything, and now it'll just use the data to explore what it needs. It'll solve the queries, bring it all together, and away you go, right? So, talk to your logs, talk to your bill, go for it with this new Tailpipe MCP server.
This stuff is so great, Nathan, and I can't wait to see what people do with it. Give it a try. We'll put the link in the description of this video to get to this repo and the README with all of the instructions that you need, and let us know in the community what kinds of things you're learning.
100%. Can't wait to hear.
Thanks for watching. If you're ready to get started with Tailpipe, you'll find more information and a getting started guide at tailpipe.io.